state of the visceral action, deep sleep action. Here you are conscious, but you are conscious only of what? Yourself. I have a feeling that this is the state in which the animals live. You may accept or reject it, that's your business. And therefore they are far superior to us. The animal is, when I talk of animals, please remember that I am not talking about your pet dog. They are about 3/4 human. They are not. Here in this state, there is an experience, but it is within yourself. That is, this experience is still unrelated to an object. The experience itself is the object. Consciousness becoming aware of itself, yeah, becomes conscious of an experience within itself, not as an object. The experience itself becomes an object. That is, let me put it a little more homely. Supposing a husband and wife are sleeping together, and it is possible that the wife's arm is right on the husband's throat, not seriously, yet lovingly. And in this state of half sleep, half wakefulness, when he is aware, when he is just aware, not aware of you or the wife or the bed, when he is just aware, he might push this arm away. Aware that there has been a pressure on the neck. The pressure on the neck is not related to the wife, correct? But the pressure on the neck itself becomes the object of experience. That experience itself becomes an object. We are all familiar with this. We have not sort of understood it in its proper light. And the meditator's endeavor in the morning is to return to that point. Instead of bursting into the world and looking at everybody else, or falling into sleep, dreaming or not dreaming, is it possible to get back to that state where there is merely an experience, and that experience is the object of awareness? That experience is unrelated to anything outside the skin. Let's put it that way. That experience is totally unrelated to anything outside the skin. But yet it is an experience you are conscious of, you are aware of, you can even remember it and relate it later. This is the second stage. We all pass through this. Then arises a thought. Oh, wow. This is the most disastrous position where we begin to fall. And you can see from the simple example that I gave, that is when you feel like pushing your partner away. The previous state where the experience was the object, you are not really concerned with the person sleeping next to you. But you come out of that into the next state where there is thought, and the thought makes the entire universe. The thought which makes the entire universe, you suddenly say, oh, push, go away. In the third, not so much even in the second, funny enough, you suddenly begin to feel, I am this body. In the previous two states, there is no such feeling, there is no such awareness. Only in the third state, when you are awake, when your eyes open or eyes closed, when you know that this hand, this arm belongs to my wife or my husband, and that arm is either the cause of great pleasure to me or discomfort, it is then that you begin to react to an external world. External to what? External to the body. I am the body, you are the world. It's fascinating, isn't it? Fascinating. How the world is created every morning. I am the body, you are the world. Till this point where this thought or the feeling, I am the body, arises, there is no world. And even so, in the return journey, when this I am the body idea collapses, there is no world either. Till then it will continue to exist in one form or the other. We'll come to that later. Then of course you get up, wash, cup of coffee. The world is there. The world was there when you created that. The world came into being when you created it by, strangely, thinking, I am this body. This thought, I am this body, created the world. And now we are wide awake. Are we? No. In this wide awakeness, there are dreams. Even without sleeping, even with your eyes wide open and mind functioning furiously, alert, very successful in work, in business, in yoga, but you are dreaming. Is it possible to dream? Apart from, a girl or a boy in love, they may sit on the beach and keep dreaming, daydreaming. But Vasistha goes a little further and says that is not the only dream. This is a dream too. Thought itself, when it moves out again of the skin, as it were, becomes a dream. All these relationships and definitions we have of each other are dreams, isn't it? Is there something substantial? Jocelyn, she is my friend. You search her like they do in the airport, body search. You will not find Jocelyn here. And much worse, you will not find my friend there. You will find a body as good or as bad as a body as any body. But that's all. Oh, that's dreaming. This my friend is a dream. And when you start dreaming this dream of a definition first and then a relationship, if you are careful, if you are observant, you see that the awareness has slipped out of even this I am the body, you become a reality. Is that clear? When you are looking at someone whom you love or whom you hate or whom you are afraid of, are you aware that you have completely forgotten that you have a body? You are totally, in a manner of speaking, you are totally unaware of yourself. You are totally unaware of how you look. I wanted to. Okay. When you are angry with someone, you can substitute angry with anything else you want. When you are madly in love with someone, when you are madly jealous of someone, etc., etc. When you are angry with someone, do you know how funny you look, your face? Terrible, isn't it? But you are not aware. I am sure, I have a feeling, I don't know how far I am right. I am sure if someone has the presence of mind to snap a picture, take, and show it to you, this is what you look when you are angry. Probably people will get less and less angry. You are not aware of yourself at all. You are extremely elegant and you don't, you're a lady or a gentleman. But when you are angry, all that thing goes away. And your face is atrocious, you behave in the most atrocious manner. Why? At that point, the awareness is totally objectified. In the previous state, I was aware of you and I was aware that you make me happy, I was aware you make me unhappy, and so on. Here, I don't know if I am happy, I don't know if I am unhappy, you are... That's it. You are a god or you are a devil, you are a darling, you are a devil, or whatever it is. That's a dream. When this dream goes on, and even that little awareness of the self that may remain has disintegrated, it becomes a sort of hallucination. There is not a terrible difference between the two. Whereas in the case of a dream, it's less long lasting. In the case of a hallucination, it's more long lasting and more firmly based. All our prejudices are hallucinations, are based on hallucinations. To describe this state of hallucination, Vasistha gives us a lovely story. In these days of hypnosis and things like that, and the drug culture, the story may not sound so dramatic, but please enter into the spirit of it. A king was holding court when a magician appeared on the scene. He brought a horse and walked up to the king and said, "Look at this horse, isn't it marvelous? Why don't you take a ride?" And then waved a magic wand. And the king passed out. He remained like that for about an hour. Then woke up shivering, terribly agitated, and looked at this magician and said, "My God, what were you trying to do to me?" And the ministers around him said, You're wise and enlightened monarch. How come that your mind is agitated?" Then the king narrated what happened to him. He said, "Do you remember? I saw this horse and I saw this man, and I jumped on the horse and went away. Went to a desert, far, far away from here. Then It became dark and I lost my way. The horse fell dead. I hid myself somewhere. Then morning came. I did not know where I was. I did not know where to go. Then I continued to wander, roam about, till I felt completely, totally exhausted. And one day I woke up, about to die. I saw a terribly ugly looking young woman who had some food. I went to her and asked her, "Can you give me some food? I am hungry, I am dying." She said, "I'll give you food if you marry me." I said, "Yes, marry you, no problem." What else can I do? She gave me some meat and took me home. They were all hideous people. And I became a member of the hideous tribe. I had to marry her. And we were the parents of 2 or 3 children, more hideous than us. And this way we continued to live there for a long, long time, many, many years. Then there was famine in the place. Everybody fled, and I also decided to leave. I went away. And one day I lay down with my children, and the last one started screaming in hunger, starving. "Father, give me some food." I had no food, nothing to give the child, and I was moved with pity. And in exasperation, I told the child, "Come on, eat my flesh." And the child said, "Give me." The child was hungry. "Give me." I thought it was better to end my life, and gathered some firewood, raised a fire, told the child, "As soon as I am roasted, you can have it." I listened very carefully now. I jumped into that fire. It was burning, so I got up and found that I am here. We have all had this, some kind of nightmare, and then you wake up and you find comfortably sleeping in bed. Some kind of a nightmarish experience kicks you out of that state of consciousness. So, the heat of the fire that was seen in a dream or hallucination woke him up, and he realized that he was sitting in the palace. Okay, this is hypnosis, dream, hallucination. Good. This magician went away. A day or two later, the king thought, in his own memory, he remembered the names of those towns, villages and so on. The deserts and the villages and so on. So he said, "Let me go in there, have a look." When he went there, lo and behold, he met the very people with whom he had lived in his hallucination. There are, I'll stop the story there. There are any number of explanations for this. If there are some psychologists amongst you, you can investigate that further. Any number of explanations for this. But I suggest a rather simple, oversimplistic approach to this. To see if it is true in our own lives. I consider her my friend. That is merely a dream, not even a hallucination. But a little later that becomes real. Correct? That friendship becomes real. Then my whole attitude changes. I expect something of her, I do something to her, and I expect something else from her. And our whole attitude to each other, our whole relationship becomes completely warped. It is no longer sensible. It is total nonsense. Why must I expect her to do something to me? Because I dreamt that she was my friend. That somehow becomes a reality in a few days, if you know what I mean. You don't know each other at all. One day you look at each other and dream we are friends. In a few days it has become a reality. And that reality destroys your life. She's my friend. So far as I am concerned, this hallucination or this dream has become crystallized into a fact, and nothing is going to change it. This is often what we call our cultural heritage, national heritage, religious heritage. Nothing but dream, dreamt frequently enough to have converted that into a solid fact. In that state again, there is practically no self-knowledge. It's all dream. Self-knowledge is fast asleep. We think we are in a state of waking consciousness, but dream rules our lives. Hallucination rules our lives. Prejudices rule our lives. And we are quite convinced that these are not prejudices. We are quite convinced that these are not imaginary, but these are very, very real. This is when the objective world becomes the ruler. The tables have turned. First, somebody's arms around your neck caused a bit of pleasure or pleasure. Somebody's arms around your neck caused a little bit of pressure or pleasure. But that was all within yourself. And now we have gone to the other extreme, that your happiness or your unhappiness is dependent entirely and totally upon other people, the world outside. The world outside is responsible for your happiness. The world outside is responsible for your unhappiness. And therefore, you have to battle and battle and battle along. Then there arises this total conviction. In this conviction, even the distinction between you and I get blurred, because we have created a third thing called reality. The relationship becomes reality, correct? It's funny. So that for your sake, I am prepared to undergo all sorts of sufferings, whereas originally we entered into a relationship for my happiness, for my pleasure. And then we thought, all right, you give me pleasure, I give you pleasure, and we will share our pleasure half and half. You are as important as I am as important as you are. Then this relationship becomes so gross that the relationship rules both of us, or at least me, one party. That is when the awareness has decided to go to sleep. We are full of prejudices which are not to be looked at. This is it. This is the beauty. Before you could examine those prejudices, you are at least aware that I am prejudiced. Yes? I am brought up in this tradition. This is a superstition which, anyhow. You ask her, why do you put this dot on your forehead? My grandfather, my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, all of them did it. I am also doing it. But a stage arrives, a time comes when that is regarded as the truth, the reality. To us, a certain religious doctrine becomes an absolutely inviolable truth. Nothing else is the truth. This is called conviction. And one who holds the conviction is obviously convicted. He or she is a convict. No religion encourages that. Every religion encourages you to investigate the truth, realize the truth. Not to be convinced that since it is said by so and so, it must be the truth. It must be the truth is not the truth. Yes? That's clear, isn't it? When you are tempted to use the expression, it must be true, it is not true. If it is true, it is true. Why should you say it must be true? So, what you hear from the religious leaders must become true to you, then it becomes true. If that is not done, and this hallucination grows into a sort of conviction, you convict yourself as an ignorant person. The only thing that God has given us, the instrument of investigation, has been completely destroyed at that point. And we are full of prejudices, we are full of all sorts of crazy ideas. And if you examine your lives now, most of our actions spring from these prejudices, these superstitious beliefs, these convictions, which are unexamined and which, according to most people, are not negotiable. You can't think about them, you can't consider them, you can't examine them. They must be left intact. Actions that arise from the sum total of these prejudices is called a mechanical action. At the beginning I talked of visceral action. Visceral action is very different from mechanical action. just for fun. Supposing you had been brought up to turn your face away from anyone who is wearing a rosary. You have been told, right from childhood, that these are all people